Hi everyone, my name is Michelle and today I'm going to be explaining to you what exactly the IELTS exam is. IELTS stands for International English Language Testing System. It is an exam that tests your knowledge of the English language. It tests how well you can read, write, speak and understand the English language. There are two versions of the IELTS exam, the academic version and the general training version. The academic IELTS exam is for those who want to study abroad at a university in an English-speaking country, either at an undergraduate or postgraduate level. The general training IELTS exam is for those who want to work abroad in an English-speaking country or emigrate to an English-speaking country such as Australia or America. In the next lesson, lesson 2, I will speak in detail about the layout of the IELTS exam. See you soon! Everyone, as I mentioned in my previous video, the IELTS academic test is for those who want to study abroad at a university in an English-speaking country, either at an undergraduate or postgraduate level. The IELTS academic test is also for those wanting to join a professional organisation in an English-speaking country, such as Australia or Canada. Whereas the IELTS general training exam is for those who want to work abroad in an English-speaking country or emigrate to an English-speaking country. Regardless of whether you are taking the academic version or the general training version, the layout of the exam is exactly the same. The IELTS exam consists of 4 sections or 4 tests: the listening, reading, writing and speaking. The listening, reading and writing tests will take place on the one day. You do not have any breaks between the tests, and the order of the tests may change, but you normally have the listening test first, then the reading and then the writing. Regarding the speaking test, you will sit this test up to 7 days before or after the day you have the other 3 tests. The listening and speaking tests are the exact same for both the academic and general training versions of the IELTS exam. There is no pass or fail mark in the IELTS exam. Instead, you are marked on a band scale of 1 to 9 in each of the 4 sections of the exam, with 1 being the lowest mark and 9 being the highest. Most universities have a band score requirement that falls between 5.5 and 7.0, but it is best to contact the university first to find out exactly what band score you need to study at that university. If you are doing the general training version, you will need to check the IELTS scores for emigration or visa requirements needed in the country of your choice to find out exactly what band score you need. In the videos below, I will go through each section of the IELTS exam in detail to help you achieve the highest band score possible in each of the reading, writing, listening and speaking sections of the IELTS exam. See you soon! And today we will be looking at how to obtain the highest possible score on the listening part of the IELTS exam. The listening test is the exact same test for both the academic and general training versions of the IELTS exam, and it is normally the first part of the IELTS exam. The listening test is 30 minutes long with an additional 10 minutes transfer time at the end of the exam to transfer your answers to the answer sheet. It is important to remember that the tape is only played once, so you need to listen carefully. There are 4 sections in the listening part of the IELTS exam, with 10 questions in each section, so 40 questions in total. It is also important to remember that each question is worth 1 mark, so the listening test is worth a total of 40 marks. You may be asked to answer multiple choice questions, label a plan, map or diagram, fill in a form, complete a table, complete a flowchart, or give short answers. Section 1 is the easiest section, and Section 4 is the hardest section. In Section 1, you will hear a conversation between 2 people, and this section tests your basic English, such as names and numbers. In Section 2, you will hear only 1 person talking. It will be on a general everyday topic, for example, speech on how to book a tour. In Section 3, you will hear anywhere from 2 to 4 speakers having a conversation in an academic situation. For example, you may hear a teacher and a student discussing an assignment, or a group of students chatting about an exam. And in Section 4, you will hear 1 person speaking about an academic subject. For example, a lecturer giving a lecture in a lecture hall. You have extra time at the end of each section to check your answers and to look at the questions in the next section before it is played. The IELTS exam is based on British English, so you will be listening to British speakers, Australian speakers, and even speakers from New Zealand. The key to getting a high mark for the listening part of the IELTS exam is understanding the layout of the exam. In other words, knowing the exam lasts 30 minutes, that there are 4 sections in the exam, that each section has 10 questions, that you will hear 2 people having a conversation in section 1 and 1 person speaking in section 2, that each question is worth 1 mark. The second key to getting a high mark for the listening test is practice. Practice as many listening IELTS exams as you can. Practice each exam over and over. The more you practice, the better you will become. In the next video, we will practice an IELTS listening exam together. See you soon. Hi everyone, in this lesson we are going to practice the listening test. Please download and print off the following attachments: the question paper and the blank answer sheet. It is very important in the exam not to open the exam paper until you are told to do so. Please write your name and candidate number in the spaces at the top of the question paper and answer sheet, and then listen to the instructions for each section of the exam carefully. We will now begin the test.
Test 1. You will hear a number of different recordings, and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have a chance to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 sections. At the end of the test, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to an answer sheet. Now turn to Section 1. Section 1. You will hear a conversation between a clerk at the inquiries desk of a transport company and a man who is asking for travel information. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 5. You will see that there is an example that has been done for you. On this occasion only, the conversation relating to this will be played first.
Good morning, Travel Link. How can I help you?
Good morning. I live in Bayswater and I'd like to get to Harbour City tomorrow before 11 a.m.
Well, to get to Bayswater...
No, I live in Bayswater. My destination is Harbour City.
Oh, sorry, right. So that's Bayswater to Harbour City. Are you planning to travel by bus or train?
The man wants to go to Harbour City, so Harbour City has been written in the space. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 5.
Good morning, Travel Link. How can I help you?
Good morning. I live in Bayswater and I'd like to get to Harbour City tomorrow before 11 a.m.
Well, to get to Bayswater...
No, I live in Bayswater. My destination is Harbour City.
Oh, sorry. Right, so that's Bayswater to Harbour City. Are you planning to travel by bus or train?
I don't mind, really. Whichever option is faster, I suppose.
Well, if you catch a railway express, they'll get you there in under an hour. Let's see. Yes, if you can make the 9:30 a.m. express, I'd recommend you do that.
Great. Which station does that leave from?
Helendale is the nearest train station to you.
Did you say Helensvale?
No, Helendale. That's Helendale.
What's the best way to get to the Helendale station then?
Well, hang on a minute while I look into that. Now, it seems to me that you have 2 options. Option 1 would be to take the 7:06 bus from the Bayswater Shopping Centre to Central Street. When you get there, you transfer to another bus which will take you to the station. Or, the second option, if you don't mind walking a couple of kilometres, is to go directly to Central Street and get straight on the bus going to the train station.
OK, which bus is that?
The 792 will take you to the station.
I guess the walk will be good for me, so that might be the better option. What time do I catch the 792?
There are 2 buses that should get you to the station on time, one just before 9 o'clock and one just after. But look, at that time of the morning it might be better to take the earlier one, just in case there's a traffic jam or something. The 8:55 is probably safer than the 9:05.
Yeah, I don't want to miss the train, so I'll be sure to get on the 5 to 9 bus.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 6 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 6 to 10.
By the way, how much will I have to pay in fares?
Well, you can get a ticket on the bus for $1.80 cash, and you'll need $10 each way for the train. Wait, do you have a travel link card?
No, but I can get one before tomorrow.
Okay, well that'll make it considerably cheaper then. The bus will cost $1.50 each way, and the train to Harbour City will still cost $10 because you'll be travelling during peak hours in the morning, so no savings there, I'm afraid. However, if you could come back at an off-peak time...
What does that mean?
Well, if you could start your return journey before 5 p.m. or later than 7:30 in the evening...
Actually, I wasn't planning on coming back till at least 8 o'clock anyway.
Oh, in that case, you can make quite a saving if you use your travel link card. You did say you were planning to purchase one, didn't you?
Yes, I'll pick one up later today.
Good. That would mean your return train journey would only cost you $7.15 with your card.
Thank you.
Is there anything else I can help you with?
Actually, there is. Do you know if I can use the travel link card on ferries?
If you're thinking of the Harbour City ferries that go back and forth between the North and South Bank, those are the commuter ferries, then yes. A one-way trip costs $4.50, but with your card you'd make a 20% saving and only pay $3.55.
So $3.55 for the commuter ferry. What about the tour boats?
You mean the tourist ferries that go upriver on sightseeing tours? No, they only take cash or credit card. They're not part of the Travel Link company.
Oh, I see. I don't suppose you know the cost of a tour?
In actual fact, I do, because I took a friend on the trip upriver just last week. We decided on the afternoon tour, and that was $35 each, but I understand that you can do the whole day for $65.
Thank you. You've been a great help.
My pleasure. Enjoy your day out.
That is the end of section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 2. Section 2. You will hear a guidance counsellor talking to a group of students. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 14. Listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 14.
Hello everyone, I'm the Counselling Administrator here at St Ives College, and I've been asked to come and talk to you about our counselling team and the services that we offer. We have 3 professional counsellors here at St Ives, Louise Bagshaw, Tony Denby and Naomi Flynn. They each hold daily one-on-one sessions with students, but which counsellor you see will depend on a number of factors. If you've never used a counsellor before, then you should make an appointment with Naomi Flynn. Naomi specialises in seeing new students and offers a preliminary session where she will talk to you about what you can expect from counselling, followed by some simple questions about what you would like to discuss. This can be really helpful for students who are feeling a bit worried about the counselling process. Naomi is also the best option for students who can only see a counsellor outside office hours. She is not in on Mondays, but starts early on Wednesday mornings and works late on Thursday evenings, so you can see her before your first class or after your last class on those days. Louise staffs our drop-in centre throughout the day. If you need to see someone without a prior appointment, then she is the one to visit. Please note that if you use this service, then Louise will either see you herself or place you with the next available counsellor. If you want to be sure to see the same counsellor on each visit, then we strongly recommend you make an appointment ahead of time. You can do this at reception during office hours or by using our online booking form. Tony is our newest addition to the counselling team. He is our only male counsellor, and he has an extensive background in stress management and relaxation techniques. We encourage anyone who is trying to deal with anxiety to see him. Tony will introduce you to a full range of techniques to help you cope with this problem, such as body awareness, time management, and positive reinforcement.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 15 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 15 to 20.
Each semester, the counselling team runs a number of small group workshops. These last for 2 hours and are free to all enrolled students. Our first workshop is called Adjusting. We've found that tertiary education can come as a big shock for some people. After the structured learning environment of school, it is easy to feel lost. In this workshop, we will introduce you to what is necessary for academic success. As you might expect, we're targeting first-year students with this offering. Getting organised follows on from the first workshop. Here, we're going to help you break the habit of putting things off, get the most out of your time, and discover the right balance between academic and recreational activities. With Getting Organised, we're catering to a broader crowd, which includes all undergraduates and postgraduates. Next up is a workshop called Communicating. The way people interact here may be quite different to what you're used to, especially if you've come from abroad. We'll cover an area that many foreign students struggle with, how to talk with teachers and other staff. We'll cover all aspects of multicultural communication. International students tend to get a lot out of this class, so we particularly encourage you to come along. But I must say that sometimes students from a local background find it helpful too, so everyone is welcome. The Anxiety Workshop is held later on in the year and deals with something you will all be familiar with, the nerves and anxiety that come when exams are approaching. Many students go through their entire academic careers suffering like this, but you don't have to. Come to this workshop and we'll teach you all about relaxation and how to breathe properly, as well as meditation and other strategies to remain calm. We've tailored this workshop to anyone who is going to sit exams. Finally, we have the Motivation Workshop. The big topic here is how to stay on target and motivated during long-term research projects. This workshop is strictly for research students, as less advanced students already have several workshops catering to their needs. Well, that's it. Thanks for your time. If you have any questions or want more information about our services, do come and see us at the counselling service.
That is the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 3. Section 3. You will hear a conversation between a tutor and 2 students who are preparing for an English literature test. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 24. Listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 24.
Hello, Lorna, Ian. Glad you could make it. You're the only 2 who put your names down for this literature tutorial, so let's get started, shall we? I want to run over some aspects of the novel The Secret Garden with you before the test next week. Be sure to take some notes and ask questions if you need to.
Hey, Lorna, have you got a spare pen?
Sure, here you are.
Okay, so the story follows 2 key characters. You should refer to them as protagonists, who go by the names of Mary Lennox and Colin Craven. The story is set shortly after the turn of the 20th century, and the narrative tracks the development of the protagonists as they learn to overcome their own personal troubles together.
That's quite a common storyline, isn't it?
Yes, you're right, Lorna. So what can you tell me about the character of Mary?
Well, in the beginning, she is an angry, rude child who was orphaned after a cholera outbreak and forced to leave India and move to the United Kingdom to her uncle's house in Yorkshire.
That's right. And there she meets Colin, who spends his days in an isolated room, believing himself to be permanently crippled, with no hope of ever gaining the ability to walk. The 2 strike up a friendship, and gradually learn, by encouraging each other, that they can both become healthy, happy, and fulfilled in life.
Will we need to remember a lot of these details for the exam?
Just the basic outline. Examiners don't want to read a plot summary, they know what the book is about. Focus on narrative techniques instead, such as point of view.
What's that mean?
It's all about how we see the story. This story, for example, is written from the perspective of what is called an omniscient narrator. Omniscient means all-knowing. So, as readers, we get to see how all the characters feel about things, what they like and don't like, and what their motivations are in the story.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 25 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 25 to 30.
Won't it be hard to write a technical analysis? After all, it's a kid's book.
Well, it was initially pitched at adults, you know. But over the years it has become seen as a more youth-orientated work. And you're right in a sense. The simple vocabulary and absence of foreshadowing make the story very easy to follow and ideally suited for children. But that doesn't mean there isn't much to analyse. Look at the symbolism, for instance.
Symbols are things, right? Material things like objects that stand for abstract ideas.
Absolutely, yes. And the author uses many of them. There's the robin redbreast, for example, which symbolises the wise and gentle nature that Mary will soon adopt. Note that the robin is described as not at all like the birds in India. Roses are used as well, as a personal symbol for Mistress Craven. You'll see they're always mentioned alongside her name, and Mistress Craven's portrait can also be interpreted as a symbol of her spirit.
Are symbols just another name for motifs?
No, motifs are a bit different. They don't have as direct a connection with something the way that a symbol does. Motifs are simply recurring elements of the story that support the mood.
Are there any in this novel?
Yes, two very important ones. The Garden of Eden is a motif. It comes up a few times in connection with the garden of the story. And then you've got the role that secrets play in the story. In the beginning, everything is steeped in secrecy, and slowly the characters share their secrets, and in the process move from darkness to lightness, metaphorically, but also, in the case of Colin, quite literally. His room in the beginning has the curtains drawn, and he appears at the end in the brightness of the garden.
Anything else we need to know about?
Yes. Nearly all novels explore universal concepts that everyone has experienced. Things like love, family, loneliness, friendship. These are called themes. The Secret Garden has a few themes that all centre on the idea of connections. The novel explores, for example, the way that health can determine and be determined by our outlook on life. As Colin's health improves, so too do his perceptions of his strength and possibility. The author also examines the link between our environment and our physical and emotional prosperity. The dark, cramped rooms of the manor house stifle the development of our protagonists. The garden and natural environments allow them to blossom, just as the flowers do. Finally, this book looks at connections between individuals, namely Mary and Colin. This necessity of human companionship is the novel's most significant theme, because none of their development as individuals would have occurred without their knowing each other. Well, that about sums it up, I think.
That's a great help, thanks.
Yes, thanks very much.
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 4. Section 4. You will hear a talk on the topic of time perspectives. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Today, I'm going to be talking about time. Specifically, I'll be looking at how people think about time, and how these time perspectives structure our lives. According to social psychologists, there are 6 ways of thinking about time, which are called personal time zones. The first 2 are based in the past. Past positive thinkers spend most of their time in a state of nostalgia, fondly remembering moments such as birthdays, marriages, and important achievements in their life. These are the kinds of people who keep family records, books, and photo albums. People living in the past negative time zone are also absorbed by earlier times. But they focus on all the bad things, regrets, failures, Poor decisions. They spend a lot of time thinking about how life could have been. Then, we have people who live in the present. Present hedonists are driven by pleasure and immediate sensation. Their life motto is to have a good time and avoid pain. Present fatalists live in the moment too, but they believe this moment is the product of circumstances entirely beyond their control. It's their fate, whether it's poverty, religion, or society itself. Something stops these people from believing they can play a role in changing their outcomes in life. Life simply is, and that's that. Looking at the future time zone, we can see that people classified as future active are the planners and go-getters. They work rather than play and resist temptation. Decisions are made based on potential consequences, not on the experience itself. A second future-orientated perspective, future fatalistic, is driven by the certainty of life after death and some kind of a judgment day when they will be assessed on how virtuously they have lived and what success they have had in their lives. Okay, let's move on. You might ask, how do these time zones affect our lives? Well, let's start at the beginning. Everyone is brought into this world as a present hedonist. No exceptions. Our initial needs and demands, to be warm, secure, fed, and watered, all stem from the present moment. But things change when we enter formal education. We're taught to stop existing in the moment and to begin thinking about future outcomes. But did you know that every 9 seconds, a child in the USA drops out of school? For boys, the rate is much higher than for girls. We could easily say, well, boys just aren't as bright as girls. But the evidence doesn't support this. A recent study states that boys in America, by the age of 21, have spent 10,000 hours playing video games. The research suggests that they'll never fit in the traditional classroom, because these boys require a situation where they have the ability to manage their own learning environment. Now, let's look at the way we do prevention education. All prevention education is aimed at a future time zone. We say, don't smoke or you'll get cancer. Get good grades or you won't get a good job. But with present-orientated kids, that just doesn't work. Although they understand the potentially negative consequences of their actions, they persist with the behavior because they're not living for the future. They're in the moment right now. We can't use logic, and it's no use reminding them of potential fallout from their decisions or previous errors of judgment. We've got to get in their minds just as they're about to make a choice. Time perspectives make a big difference in how we value and use our time. When Americans are asked how busy they are, the vast majority report being busier than ever before. They admit to sacrificing their relationships, personal time, and a good night's sleep for their success. 20 years ago, 60% of Americans had sit-down dinners with their families, and now only 20% do. But when they're asked what they would do with an 8-day week, they say, that'd be great. They would spend that time laboring away to achieve more. They're constantly trying to get ahead, to get toward a future point of happiness. So, it's really important to be aware of how other people think about time. We tend to think, that person's really irresponsible, or that guy's power hungry. But often, what we're looking at is not fundamental differences of personality, but really just different ways of thinking about time. Seeing these conflicts as differences in time perspective, rather than distinctions of character, can facilitate more effective cooperation between people and get the most out of each person's individual strengths.
That is the end of section 4. You now have half a minute to check your answers. That is the end of the listening test. You now have 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the listening answer sheet.
Now that you've completed the practice test, download the answers attached to see how well you have done. To calculate your band score for the listening test, please look at the table below. If you answer correctly 30 out of 40 of the questions, you will have a band score of 7. Remember, the key to getting a high mark in the listening test is understanding the layout of the exam and practice. It is about knowing that there are 4 sections in the test, that the test lasts 30 minutes, and that you will only hear the tape played once, which is extremely important to remember. The second key to getting a high mark in the listening test is practice. Practice as many listening IELTS exams as you can. Practice each test over and over. The more you practice, the better you will become. This is how you will increase your band score in your listening test. Hi everyone, in today's lesson we will be looking at how to do well on the IELTS General Training Reading Test. As the reading tests are different for the academic and general training versions of the IELTS exam, we are going to cover them in separate lessons. This lesson is only for those who are doing the general training version of the IELTS exam. If you are doing the academic version of the IELTS exam, please look at the IELTS academic reading test video. So let's get started. The general training reading test is 60 minutes long and there are 3 sections with 40 questions in total. Each question is worth 1 mark, so the reading test is worth 40 marks in total. The texts that will come up in the reading tests are all taken from newspapers, documents, instruction manuals, timetables and magazines. All the topics are relevant to living and working in an English-speaking country. Let's go through each of the 3 sections of the reading exam. In section 1, you have 2 to 3 short texts. The topics are relevant to living and working every day in an English-speaking country. Section 2 gets a little bit harder. Here you have 2 texts again, but they focus on issues related to work, such as applying for a job, pay and conditions, staff training and development, and company policies. Section 3 is the section you should spend the most time on, as it is the most difficult section. This text is quite long and is on a topic of general interest, so the best way to prepare is to practice as many exam questions as possible. The types of questions you may be asked to answer are multiple choice questions, where you have to choose the correct answer from usually 3 or 4 options, for example A, B, C or D. Short answer questions, where you give very short answers with no more than 3 words. Sentence completion, whereby you simply complete the sentence. Identifying information, where you are given a number of statements and then asked if they agree with the information in the text. Here you need to write true, false or not given in the boxes on your answer sheet. Write about a writer's view or claims. In this type of question, you are normally given a number of statements and asked if the writer agrees with these statements. You have to write yes, no or not given in the boxes on your answer sheet again. Fill in or label diagrams is another question you may be asked, or matching headings with the correct paragraphs. Another question that you may be asked is to match phrases. In the next lesson, we will go through in depth an actual IELTS general training reading test to show you how to achieve a band score of 9. It is important to remember that there are so many different types of questions that can be asked on the reading test of the IELTS exam, and the only way to improve and get a better score is to practice, practice, practice. See you in the next lesson. Hi, in this lesson we are going to practice a general training reading test together. Please download and print off the following attachments: the question paper and the blank answer sheet. It is very important in the exam not to open the question paper until you are told to do so. Please write your name and candidate number in the spaces at the top of the question paper and answer sheet. Okay, now let's read the instructions. Do not open the question paper until you are told to do so, which you already know. Write your name and candidate number in the spaces at the top of the page, which you should have already done. Then it says, read the instructions for each part of the paper carefully. Answer all the questions. Write your answers on the answer sheet. Use a pencil. You must complete the answer sheet within the time limit, which is 60 minutes, which again is something you already know. At the end of the test, hand in both the question paper and your answer sheet. Once you have read these instructions, we will begin. Okay, let's get started. The first part of the reading test is section 1. You have 14 questions to answer in section 1. Let's look at the first text on section 1. It asks us to read the text below and answer questions 1 to 8. My top tip for the reading test is to only read the title of the text so that you know what the text is about, and then go and read the questions. Underline any keywords in the question and then scan the text for the answer. So go back to the question paper and read the title of the first text. It's called emergency procedures, procedure for evacuation. Now go to the end of the text and look at questions 1 to 8. It says, complete the sentences below. Choose no more than 3 words from the text for each answer. Write your answers in boxes 1 to 8 on your answer sheet. It is extremely important that you complete the answers in no more than 3 words. If you use more than 3 words, you will lose marks because you didn't answer the question properly. The answer cannot be more than 3 words. This is extremely important. Okay, let's look at question 1. Question 1 says, in an emergency, a teacher will either phone the office or... Now that you have read the sentence, you need to underline any keywords. Okay, I would underline emergency, teacher, phone, office, and or. Once you have underlined these, go back to the beginning of the text and scan the text for these words. It should be in the first paragraph, the answer. If you read it, it says, Emergency Procedures, revised July 2011. This applies to all persons on the school campus. In cases of emergency, for example fire, find the nearest teacher who will send a messenger at full speed to the office or inform the office via phone extension 99. Therefore, we can see that the missing words are send a messenger. On your answer sheet, write the words send a messenger for the first answer. Then go back and look at question 2. For question 2, you need to complete the following sentence. The signal for evacuation will normally be several. Now that you have read the sentence, you need to underline any keywords. I would underline signal and evacuation. Remember, keywords are just to help focus your mind in searching the text to try find the answer. Again, quickly return to the text and scan for the answer. A quick tip is that answer 2 should appear after answer 1 in the text, so there is probably no need to read paragraph 1 again. So if we start reading after this point, it says, procedure for evacuation. Number 1, warning of an emergency evacuation will be marked by number of short bell rings. In the event of a power failure, this may be a handheld bell or siren. We can see that the missing words are short bell rings. Again, quickly go to your answer sheet and write short bell rings for the second answer. Then go back and read question 3. For question 3, you need to complete the following sentence. If possible, students should leave the building by the... Now that you have read the sentence, you need to underline any keywords. I would underline students, leave, building, and by. Then go back up to the text and scan the text for the answer. Answer 3 should appear after answer 2 in the text, so start reading from where you got answer 2 from. It says, all classes will cease immediately. Students will leave their bags, books, and other possessions where they are. Teachers will take the class rolls. Classes will vacate the premises using the nearest staircase. Sometimes the answer will be hidden in the text, so scanning the text for keywords will not work. If you can't find the keywords when you scan the text, then you will need to read the passage paragraph by paragraph to fully understand what the writer is talking about, to try find the answer to the question. So instead of saying leaving the building, they say vacate the premises. It means the same, so this is why sometimes scanning the text for keywords does not work, and in which case you will need to read the text paragraph by paragraph or line by line to fully understand what the writer is talking about, to try find the answer to the question. It is extremely important in the test to not leave any blank answers. So we can see that the missing words are nearest staircase or simply nearest stairs. So if you can go to your answer sheet and write nearest staircase or nearest stairs for the third answer. Then simply go back and read question 4. For question 4, you need to complete the following sentence. They then walk quickly to the... The first thing you need to do is underline any keywords. I would underline walk, quickly, and to. Then go back up to the text and scan the text for the answer. Answer 4 should appear after answer 3 in the text, so start reading from where you got answer 3 from. It says, if these stairs are inaccessible, use the nearest alternative staircase. Do not use the lifts, do not run. Each class under the teacher's supervision will move in a brisk, orderly fashion to the paved quadrangle area adjacent to the car park. Again, in this question, the answer is hidden in the text, so scanning the text for keywords will not work. As I said, if you can't find the keywords when you scan the text, then you will need to read the text paragraph by paragraph or line by line to fully understand what the writer is talking about so that you can find the answer to the question. So instead of saying walk quickly to, they say move in a brisk, orderly fashion to. It means the exact same thing. So it's really important that you scan the text and read each paragraph or each sentence line by line so that you can give an answer to each question. So here we can see that the missing words are quad area or quadrangle area. So if you can go to your answer sheet and write quad area or quadrangle area for the fourth answer, and then simply go back and read the fifth question. For question 5, you need to complete the following sentence. Something will join the teachers and students in the quad area. So again, underline any keywords. Here I would underline join, teachers, students, and quad. Then go back up to the text and scan the text for the answer. Answer 5 should appear after answer 4 in the text, so start reading from where you got answer 4 from. All support staff will do the same. When they say all support staff will do the same, they mean that all support staff will move in a brisk, orderly fashion to the paved quadrangle area adjacent to the car park with the students and teachers. Therefore, the missing words for sentence 5 are all support staff. So please go to your answer sheet and write all support staff for the fifth answer, and then simply go back and read the sixth question. For question 6, you need to complete the following sentence. Each class teacher will count up his or her students and mark something. First, underline any keywords. I would underline each teacher, count students, and mark. Then go back up to the text and scan the text for the answer. Answer 6 should appear after answer 5 in the text, so start reading from where you got answer 5 from. It says, the marshalling supervisor, Miss Randall, will be wearing a red cap and she will be waiting there with the master timetable and staff list in her possession. Students assemble in the quad with their teacher at the time of evacuation. The teacher will do a head count and check the roll. Again, in this question, the answer is hidden in the text, so scanning the text for keywords will not work. As I said, if you can't find the keywords when you scan the text, then you will need to read the text paragraph by paragraph or line by line to fully understand what the writer is talking about to try to find the answer to the question. So instead of saying each teacher will count up his or her students and mark the roll, they say the teacher will do a head count and check the roll. It means the exact same thing, but it shows why sometimes scanning the text for keywords will not work and why you need to read the text paragraph by paragraph to fully understand what the writer is talking about to try find the answer to the question. So we can now see that the missing words are the roll. So on your answer sheet, write the roll under the sixth answer. Then return to the question paper and look at question 7. For question 7, you need to complete the following sentence. After the something, everyone may return to class. First, underline any keywords. I would underline after the everyone return to class. Then go back up to the text and scan the text for the answer. Answer 7 should appear after the answer 6 in the text, so start reading from where you got answer 6 from. It says, each teacher sends a student to the supervisor to report whether all students have been accounted for. After checking, students will sit down. In the event of rain or wet pavement, they may remain standing. The supervisor will inform the office when all staff and students have been accounted for. All students, teaching staff and support personnel remain in the evacuation area until the all clear signal is given. The all clear will be a long bell ring or 3 blasts on the siren. Students will return to class in an orderly manner under teacher guidance. So we can see that the missing words are the all clear. So on your answer sheet, write all clear for the 7th answer, then return to the question paper and look at question 8. For question 8, you need to complete the following sentence. If there is an emergency at lunchtime, students gather in the quad in something and wait for their teacher. First, underline any keywords. I would underline emergency, lunchtime, students gather in quad in. Then go back up to the text and scan the text for the answer. Answer 8 should appear after answer 7 in the text, so start reading from where you got answer 7 from. It says, in the event of an emergency occurring during lunch or breaks, students are to assemble in their home groups in the quad and await their homeroom teacher. It is clear that the missing words are homeroom groups. So on your answer sheet, write homeroom groups for the 8th answer. Then go back to the question sheet and look at question 9. For questions 9 to 14, it says to read the text below and answer the questions. Remember my top tip for the reading test. Only read the title of the text so that you know what the text is about, and then go and read the questions. Underline any keywords in the questions and then scan the text for the answer. So let's read the titles of the texts below. Community education, short courses, business. So we have business basics, bookkeeping, new enterprise module, social networking, the latest marketing tool, and communication. Now let's look at questions 9 to 14. It says, do the following statements agree with the information given in the text? In boxes 9 to 14 on your answer sheet, write true if the statement agrees with the information, false if the statement contradicts the information, and not given if there is no information on this. Okay, let's look at question 9. Number 9 states, business basics is appropriate for beginners. First, underline any keywords. I would underline business basics, appropriate, and beginners. Then go up to the text and search for these keywords. It should be in the first paragraph. So if we start reading from the beginning, it says, community education, short courses, business basics, gain foundation knowledge for employment in an accounts position with bookkeeping and business basics through to intermediate level, suitable for anyone requiring knowledge from the ground up. From the 16th or the 24th of April from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and the cost is $420. It says that it is suitable for anyone, therefore it is appropriate for beginners, so the statement is true. On your answer sheet, write true for answer number 9. Then return to the question paper and look at question 10. Number 10 states, bookkeeping has no practical component. We need to work out whether this statement is true, false, or not given based on the information given in the text. So first, underline any keywords in the statement. I would underline bookkeeping and no practical component. The answer for number 10 should appear after where we found the answer to number 9, so you only need to read from this point. So let's read it. Bookkeeping. This course will provide students with a comprehensive understanding of bookkeeping and a great deal of hands-on experience. It starts on the 19th of April from 9 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. It's a one session only, so advance bookings are essential, and the cost is $250. It says the course has a great deal of hands-on experience, which is another way of saying practical component or practical components. As it does have a practical component, then the statement is false, as the statement is saying that it has no practical component. As I said, sometimes the answer will be hidden in the text, so scanning the text for keywords will not work. If you can't find the keywords when you scan the text, then you will need to read the passage or text paragraph by paragraph or line by line to fully understand what the writer is talking about to try to find the answer to the question. In your answer sheet, write false for question 10 and then go back to your question paper and look at question 11. Number 11 states, bookkeeping is intended for advanced students only. We need to work out whether this statement is true, false, or not given based on the information given to us in the text. So first, underline any keywords in the statement. I would underline bookkeeping, intended, advanced students only. This should be in the same text on bookkeeping that we looked at already, so check here first. So in the bookkeeping text, it says, this course will provide students with a comprehensive understanding of bookkeeping and a great deal of hands-on experience. It starts on the 19th of April from 9 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. It is one session only, so advanced bookings is essential, and the cost is $250. It does not mention anything about who the course is for, so the answer is not given. Therefore, in your answer sheet or on your answer sheet, you should write not given for answer 11. Then return to the question paper and look at question 12. Question 12, or number 12, states, the new enterprise module can help your business become more profitable. We need to work out whether this statement is true, false, or not given based on the information given to us in the text. So first, underline any keywords. I would underline new enterprise module, help business become more profitable. So let's read the new enterprise module. It says, understand company structures, tax rates, deductions, employer obligations, profit and loss statements, GST, and budgeting for tax. It's on the 15th or the 27th of May from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. and the cost is $105. Again, it does not mention anything about helping your business become more profitable, so the answer is not given. So on your answer sheet, write not given for the 12th answer. Then go back to your question paper and look at number 13. Number 13 states, social networking focuses on a specific website to help your business succeed. We need to work out whether this statement is true, false, or not given based on the information given in the text. So first, underline any keywords. I would underline social networking focuses on a specific website, help business succeed. Okay, now let's look at the text. We know that it looks at, or that we need to focus it on the social networking, the latest marketing tool text. So let's read it. It says, this broad overview gives you the opportunity to analyze what web technologies are available and how they can benefit your organization. It's on from the 1st or the 8th or the 15th of June from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. and the cost is $95. We can see that this statement is false as it says in the text that it gives the opportunity to analyze what web technologies are available, whereas the statement talks about a specific website. On your answer sheet, write false for the 13th answer, then go back and look at the 14th question on your question paper. Number 14 states, the communication class involves speaking in front of an audience. We need to work out whether this statement is true, false, or not given based on the information given in the text. So first, underline any keywords. I would underline communication class, speaking in front of audience. Okay, now let's look at the communication text. It says, take the fear out of talking to large gatherings of people. Gain the public speaking experience that will empower you with better communication skills and confidence. It's on the 12th or 13th or 14th of July from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. and the cost is $90. We can see that this statement is through, as they mention gaining public speaking experience, which is another way of saying speaking in front of an audience. So on your answer sheet, write through for the 14th answer. Now that we've gone through section 1 together, try section 2 and section 3 of the reading test on your own to see how you get on. Remember, my top tip for the reading test is to only read the title of the passage so that you know what the text is about, and then go on and read the questions. Underline any keywords in the questions and then scan the text for the answer. Please note that sometimes the answer will be hidden in the text, so scanning the text for keywords will not work. If you can't find the keywords when you scan the text, then you will need to read the passage paragraph by paragraph to fully understand what the writer is talking about to try find the answer to the question. I have attached all the answers to the reading test in this lecture so that you can check your answers for section 2 and section 3, so please feel free to access these. The best way to prepare for the reading test is to practice as many IELTS reading test questions as possible. Best of luck, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Hi everyone, in today's lesson we are going to be talking about the IELTS General Training Writing Test. This lesson is specifically for those doing the General Training version of the IELTS exam. If you are doing the academic version of the IELTS exam, please exit this video and look at the video called IELTS Academic Writing Test. Okay, let's get started. You have 2 tasks to do on the IELTS General Training Writing Test. Task 1 and Task 2. In Task 1, you have to respond to a situation by writing a letter to either request information or explain the situation. It is always a letter that you have to write. It may be a personal letter, a formal letter, or a semi-formal letter that you are asked to write. You will be asked to write at least 150 words. This is very important. It must be at least 150 words. If you write less than 150 words, then there is no way you can get a band score of 9 because you didn't complete the task properly. It has to be at least 150 words. Something else that is important to remember for Task 1 is that you do not have to write any addresses on your letter, which normally appear on the top of a letter. The writing exam is 60 minutes in total, so you should spend 20 minutes on Task 1 as it is worth 150 marks. You should spend the other 40 minutes on Task 2 as it is worth a lot more marks, 250 marks to be precise. In the next video, we are going to look at an example exam question of Task 1 and how to answer it. Check out the next video and download the attachments to practice with me. See you soon. Hi everyone, in this lesson we are going to go through Task 1 of the General Training Writing Test and show you what a model answer would look like. Please download and print off the following attachments: the question paper and the blank answer sheet. It is very important in the exam not to open the question paper until you are told to do so. Please write your name and candidate number in the spaces at the top of the question paper and answer sheet. Once you have done this, we will begin. For Task 1, it says you should spend about 20 minutes on this task, which you already know from the previous video. Then it says a friend has agreed to look after your house and pet while you are on holiday. Write a letter to your friend. In your letter, give contact details for when you are away, give instructions about how to care for your pet, and describe other household duties. Write at least 150 words, and you do not need to write any addresses, which you already know from my previous video. Okay, let's get started. In the question, it says to begin your letter with Dear. So I am going to begin my letter by writing Dear John. You can choose whatever name you want here, but it should be a name in English, not Japanese or Chinese. In the question, it says that a friend has agreed to look after your house and pet while you are on holiday. I would use this information in your first sentence of your letter. Simply say something like, "Thank you for agreeing to house sit for me while I am away on holidays." Now read what they are asking you to do. They are asking you to give contact details for when you are away. So you should say something like, "If you need to contact me during my holiday, I will be staying at the Radisson Hotel in Sydney. If it's urgent, however, please ring my mobile phone, which I'll keep with me at all times. I've written the numbers on a sticky note, which I've left on the fridge." This is a perfect answer and will help you score a level 9 band score. Then they're asking you to give instructions about how to care for your pet. It's important that you start a new paragraph here, as you are going to be writing about something new. For those of you wondering when should you start a new paragraph, the simple answer is when you write about something new, always use a new paragraph. So in a new paragraph, you should say something like, my cat needs to be fed twice daily, so each morning and evening, put a handful of cat biscuits in his dish. You will find these in the kitchen pantry. Also, please check throughout the day to make sure he has fresh water. You can give him a small bowl of milk in the evening. If you gave this answer, you would score a band 9 in your IELTS exam. The last thing they ask you to do is describe other household duties. Again, you should begin a new paragraph as you will be writing about something new. So always start a new paragraph when you're writing or going to talk about something new. An example of a perfect answer to this part of the task would be something like, I would like you to water my plants too. The indoor ones in the lounge only need water once every few days, but the plants on the balcony need to be watered daily unless there has been heavy rain. Finally, for security, please clear my mailbox every day and keep the outside lights on at night. Then, to finish your letter, just end it with, I look forward to seeing you on my return. Yours, Michelle. This is an example of a personal letter. The other types of letters you may be asked to write are a formal letter or a semi-formal letter. The best way to practice for the writing test of the IELTS exam is to purchase a set of IELTS exam papers and practice the writing test questions over and over again. In the next lesson, we will look at task 2 of the IELTS General Training Writing Test. See you soon! Hi, in today's lesson, we are going to be talking about task 2 of the IELTS General Training Writing Test. Again, this lesson is specifically for those doing the general training version of the IELTS exam. So if you are doing the academic version, please exit this video and look at the video called IELTS Academic Writing Test, Task 2. Okay, let's begin. In Task 2 of the IELTS General Training Writing Test, you have to write a response to the question, giving reasons and examples to support your answer. It is an essay-style question, and the topics are always of general interest. This essay does not have to be as formal and can have a more personal approach. You have 40 minutes to write your essay, and you must write at least 250 words. Again, this is a very important point. When they say write at least 250 words, then it must be at least 250 words. If you write less than 250 words, then there is no way you can get a band score of 9 because you didn't complete the task properly. It has to be at least 250 words. Something else that is really important is to not try to memorize model answers for the writing test, as it won't help you. The examiner will see that you are not answering the question you are being asked and will fail you. I have seen this happen so many times, so it is really important that you don't try to memorize model answers, as it won't work. In the next video, I will talk you through how to answer a Task 2 exam question in the General Training Writing Test. See you soon! Hi everyone! In this lesson, we are going to practice Task 2 of the IELTS General Training Writing Test. For many students, this is the hardest part of the IELTS exam. Before we start, please download and print off the following attachments: the question paper and the blank answer sheet. As I have mentioned before, it is very important in the exam not to open the question paper until you are told to do so. However, as this is the second part of the writing test, i.e. Task 2, you will have already written your name and candidate number in the spaces on the top of the question paper and answer sheet from completing Task 1. The essay you have to write for Task 2 may look very difficult when you read the question, but it is no different to writing any other essay. As long as you answer what you are being asked, you are halfway to getting your level 9 band score. Okay, let's get started. For Task 2, it says you should spend about 40 minutes on this task, which is something you already know from the previous lesson. Then it tells you to write about the following topic. It says, some people believe that teaching children at home is best for a child's development, while others think that it is important for children to go to school. Discuss the advantages of both methods and give your own opinion. Give reasons for your answer and include any relevant examples from your own knowledge or experience. Again, from the previous lesson, we know that we would have to give reasons and examples to support our answer. Then it says write at least 250 words, which we know from the previous lesson means that it must be at least 250 words. To get the highest possible score in task 2, you need to understand how you are being marked. You will be marked on your ability to answer the question, on your grammar and vocabulary, as well as your ability to structure your essay and use connective words. Structuring your essay means having an introduction, a body, which normally needs to be 2 paragraphs, and a conclusion. Connective words are words that link sentences and paragraphs to improve the flow of your writing. Here are some examples of connective words. To begin with, however, and for instance. Okay, let's get started. The first thing we have to write is our introduction. Your introduction only needs to be a few sentences that state some basic facts and whether you agree or disagree with the statement. I always tell my students to try and keep your introduction to 3 sentences. 2 sentences is a bit short and 4 sentences is a bit long. Your introduction is the most important paragraph in your essay, as it shows the examiner if you understood the question being asked. To get a high mark in your essay, all you need to do is simply paraphrase this statement, give some basic facts, and say whether you agree or disagree. So our introduction will be something like, the argument over whether learning at home or at school is better for children has not yet been settled. Whereas home education offers better protection with individual learning and opportunities for families to bond, schools have a superior range of material and human resources. Ultimately, I think the school experience is best for children. This is a perfect introduction and is the model answer provided by IELTS for this question. Now that we've done the introduction, we can move on to the body of the essay. The body of the essay must consist of 2 paragraphs, no more and no less. Now read what they are asking you to do again. They are asking you to discuss the advantages of both methods and give your own opinion. So in the first paragraph, I would discuss the advantages of teaching children at home, and in the second paragraph, discuss the advantages of children going to school. Okay, let's look at the first paragraph. Firstly, I would say there are several advantages for children who learn at home. Firstly, they can spend more time with their parents and siblings. There are many social problems associated with families not spending enough quality time together. Teaching children at home also provides them with an individualized learning environment. Teaching is custom designed and moves at the child's own pace and in accordance with his or her individual learning style. Finally, homeschooling protects children from bullies and other children who might be a bad influence. Now that you have written your first paragraph, we now need to look at the second paragraph. The advantages of children going to school. A perfect model answer for this next paragraph, as provided by IELTS, would be, on the other hand, the school environment also offers advantages for children. Schools encourage children to socialise with other children and learn how to cope with gossip, bullying and peer pressure. In addition, children will receive better tuition across a range of subjects, as schools have teachers who are trained in special subjects. What is more, schools provide better access to physical resources such as sports equipment, musical instruments and library books. The last part of your essay is your conclusion. Your conclusion should be short and relevant. Many students struggle with the conclusion as they do not know what to write and in turn often write either too much or too little. Like your introduction, I would try to keep your conclusion to 3 sentences. In your conclusion, you should give a concluding phrase, give your opinion and use information from the body of your essay to support your opinion. It is important to reword this information from the body of the essay to show the examiner you are worthy of a band score of 9. The conclusion in the model answer provided by IELTS for this question is the following. I believe that children are better off in a school environment. Although family time and individual learning are important, the range of expertise and resources that schools offer cannot be matched in the home. School environments may present difficult social situations, but so too does the real world, and children must learn to navigate these on their own. This is the end of your essay. To do well on task 2 of the writing test, it is important to structure your essay correctly. In other words, having an introduction, 2 paragraphs in the body of your essay, and a conclusion. Don't write too much and don't write too little. The examiner is looking for quality, not quantity. So write clearly and make sure that you read the question carefully. Plan what you are going to say and spend more time on task 2 than on task 1. Practice as many IELTS exam writing test task 2 questions as possible. In today's lesson, I will be explaining to you what exactly happens in the IELTS speaking test and the type of questions you are asked. Whether you are taking the IELTS academic exam or the IELTS general training exam, the speaking test is the exact same for both exams. The IELTS speaking test is a one-to-one conversation with you and the examiner. It is basically an interview whereby the interviewer will ask you a series of questions. The test takes 11 to 14 minutes and is recorded. There are 3 parts to the speaking test. In part 1, the examiner introduces himself or herself and checks your name. Then the examiner asks you a series of questions about yourself, your family, your work, what you study, your friends, and your hobbies. The types of questions you will be asked are: where are you from? Describe yourself. Tell me about your family. Why are you studying English? Part 1 usually lasts about 4 to 5 minutes and is the easiest part of the test. In part 2 of the speaking test, the examiner will give you a written task card which will ask you to speak about a particular topic and include points that you must include in your talk. You will get 1 minute to prepare your talk before you have to speak. You will then speak for 1 to 2 minutes, and after this, your examiner will ask you 1 or 2 questions. In this task card, you are asked to talk about a subject you are studying, and underneath it are 4 points that they would like you to include in your talk on the topic. What subject are you studying? What is the subject about? How do you feel about it? And explain why you are interested in it. Part 2 of the speaking test usually takes about 3 to 4 minutes, and this includes your minute to prepare. Part 2 is harder than Part 1 as it tests your ability to talk about a particular topic, develop your ideas about this topic, as well as testing your ability to use relevant grammar and vocabulary in expressing your opinion. Then you will have Part 3, which is the final part of the speaking test. In Part 3, the examiner will ask you questions linked to the topic you spoke about in Part 2. The types of questions you may be asked based on the example task card in this lesson are: what are the pros and cons of the current education system in your country? Do you think students respect their teachers? And how would you like to change the education system? Part 3 is a 2-way discussion between you and the examiner, but you are expected to do most of the speaking. My top tips for the speaking test are to give a friend a list of exam-style questions and get them to ask you questions that come up in the speaking test. Number 2, keep eye contact with the examiner. You are having a conversation with someone, so looking at them when you are speaking to them is very important. Number 3, be confident. If you think you are going to do well, then you will do well. Try not to get nervous as you only have 12 minutes to show the examiner that you are well able to speak English. Before you go in to do your speaking test, tell yourself, I can do this. Number 4, expand your answers. Don't give one-word answers such as yes or no. You have 12 minutes to prove to the examiner that you are well able to speak English. The examiner can only assess your speaking for that 12-minute period, so speak as much as you can. Number 5, instead of responding to every question with yes or no, use expressions like in my opinion or I really feel. Number 6, practice. I have attached a document called IELTS Speaking Test Questions to this lecture. Print off the questions and prepare answers to these common questions that are asked in the speaking test. The more you practice, the more confident you will become and the stronger you will be on the day of your speaking test. In the next lesson, I will show you a video of what happens in a real IELTS speaking test so that you can see the types of answers you would be expected to give to achieve a band score of 9. See you in the next lesson. Hi everyone, in this lesson I'm going to show you what happens in an actual IELTS speaking test and the types of questions you may be asked. Please watch and listen carefully to the answers given, as these are the types of answers you would need to give to achieve a band score of 9. Yes, come in.
Hello?
Hi, please have a seat.
Thank you.
Welcome to the speaking section of the IELTS exam. My name is Michelle. I will be asking you some questions. For marking purposes, I'm going to record the interview. Is that okay?
Yes, no problem.
Okay, let's begin. So, can we start with your full name, please?
Yes, my name is John Doyle.
Nice to meet you, John.
You too?
May I see your passport, please?
Yes, here you are.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, so I will ask you some questions. This will take about 12 to 15 minutes, and I'll give you instructions along the way. Are you ready to begin?
Yes, I am.
Okay, can you tell me about your hometown?
Yes, I am from a little town called Tralee in Kerry, which is on the southwest coast of Ireland. It has a population of approximately 20,000 people. It has some of Ireland's most iconic scenery, so it's a great place to live.
Wow, it sounds amazing. Can you tell me about places of special interest in Kerry?
Well, the most famous of all would have to be the Ring of Kerry. It is Ireland's most scenic route. It has a 179-kilometre long tourist route and shows the best of Kerry. There are many popular places along the route, including the Killarney National Park, which was the first national park established in Ireland. The park is full of red deer and is the largest forest in Ireland. It is extremely beautiful.
What kind of jobs do people do in Kerry?
Well, we have a lot of farmers, as it is a rural part of Ireland, but we also have doctors, journalists, teachers, and bankers. Education is really important in Ireland, and most people go to university when they finish high school to ensure they secure good jobs that are well paid.
What would be the best time to visit Kerry?
The best time to visit Kerry would be between June and August, as these are our summer months. However, it does not get very warm in Ireland, so you can come any time of the year.
Okay, can you compare your hometown with another city?
Yes. Well, I live in Melbourne now, which is very different from my hometown of Kerry. Firstly, the population is quite different. There are over 4 million people residing in Melbourne compared to 20,000 in Kerry. You rarely see the same person twice, which is quite odd, so it's hard to make friends. Life is much faster over here compared to back home. Everyone is in a hurry. However, there is always something to do in Melbourne every weekend, which I love, and the weather is always beautiful. The sun is always shining, and this is something we could do with more of back home. There are pros and cons to every city, but home will always be home.
Okay, John. I'd like to ask you a few questions about what you do now. Can you tell me, do you work or are you a student?
Yes, I work. I'm an accountant and I have been for the past 5 years. It is a very fulfilling career, which pays very well, and it gives me a great deal of job satisfaction. I always wanted to be an accountant. I first joined my father's practice when I graduated from university, but I have worked for other large corporations as well, so I had the opportunity to spend 6 months overseas in Boston.
Wow, how did you find this experience?
It was fantastic. I met so many like-minded people and learned so much. It was a great experience and one I will never forget. I also had plenty of time to explore the city of Boston, and I learned a lot about those who emigrated from Ireland to Boston during the famine, which I found immensely interesting. Working for a multinational company in Boston was an honour, and I do feel very privileged to have had the opportunity at such a young age.
Why did you always want to be an accountant?
Well, I love working with numbers and I have a strong analytical skills, so I am also quite outgoing, which is an important strength to have when you're working with other companies. I guess also it has to do with my father being an accountant. Like doctors and lawyers, you are given a high level of respect and trust, so you feel like you are doing a job that is worthwhile.
Thank you. Now I'd like you to speak for 1 to 2 minutes on a topic. You have 1 minute to prepare your answer. Here is a pencil and paper to make some notes. Here is your topic. I would like you to describe a journey you went on. Your 1 minute to prepare starts now. Please begin. Thank you. Could you start speaking now? I will stop you after 2 minutes.
Okay, well, I like visiting famous places, and whenever I am on holidays, I try to visit new places or places that I've heard about. One such trip that I took with my wife was a trip to Sydney. I would like to talk about this journey to Sydney that we went on earlier this month. My wife and I both wanted to visit Sydney to see places such as the Sydney Opera House and Darling Harbour, as well as visit places like museums, galleries, and the famous Bondi Beach. We purchased our plane tickets, booked into a hotel, packed our bags, and our trip began. We spent a great deal of time before our holiday researching all the interesting places to visit and all the sights to see in Sydney. We went to see the Sydney Opera House and Darling Harbour, but we also went to Sydney Zoo and the Wildlife Park, as well as many beautiful restaurants and cafes. We enjoyed visiting the museums and galleries and taking long walks along the beach in the mornings as the sun rose. We also saw a show in the Opera House which was truly memorable. We very much enjoyed everything we did on our trip to Sydney. Since we had never been to Sydney, everything we saw and did seemed interesting as it was completely new to us. We hope to visit Sydney again soon as we had a great time.
Thank you, John. Okay, I'm now going to ask you a few questions. What is the most memorable place that you've visited in Sydney?
Well, the most memorable place that I visited on my trip to Sydney would have to be the Opera House. It is Australia's most famous building, and you can see why when you see it for the first time. It is unforgettable. It took 16 years to build, which I found fascinating. 16 years is such a long time.
Yes, it is. Can you tell me, what show did you see at the Opera House?
My wife and I saw King Kong. It was amazing. King Kong looked so real. It was interesting looking at the faces of people sitting around us. When King Kong came on stage, there was so much fear in their eyes. It was a fantastic show. Apparently the show took 5 years of planning and over 5 months of rehearsals. I also heard that auditions took place over 3 years.
Yes, I heard it was a great production. Can you tell me about the storyline?
Yes, it's about a gorilla called Kong who lives on an island in the Pacific Ocean with other oversized animals such as dinosaurs. An American film crew capture Kong and take him to New York City to be exhibited as the eighth wonder of the world. Kong escapes and climbs up the Empire State Building with an actress that was offered up to him as a sacrifice. The only reason he climbs the Empire State Building is to try and protect his beloved Anne, the actress. But he falls from the skyscraper. It is quite sad at the end. The actress really loved King Kong, as did he love her.
Thank you, John. That's the end of the speaking test. Hi everyone, I really hope you enjoyed my course. I know how important it is to do really well on the IELTS exam, so here are my final tips to getting the best band score possible. Number 1, practice. Practice is the key to success. Get yourself a set of IELTS exam papers and practice, practice, practice. I guarantee this will improve your band score for the IELTS exam. Number 2, watch your timings. When you're practicing for the IELTS exam, time yourself. You are only allowed 30 minutes for the listening exam and 60 minutes for each of the reading and writing exams. Therefore, you should only give yourself this amount of time when practicing for each of these exams at home. Number 3, be confident. Believe in yourself. I know you can do really well on the IELTS exam, and you should believe in yourself too. Before you start each part of the exam, tell yourself, I can do this. Number 4, know the layout of the exam. After completing this course, you should be extremely comfortable with the layout of each part of the exam. So many students score badly on the IELTS exam because they simply do not know the layout of the exam nor what to expect. For example, you know the listening test is worth 40 marks with 40 questions and is played only once. So many students expect to hear the tape at least 2 or 3 times, as this is what happens when they practice listening tests in class. However, this is not the case for the IELTS exam, and thus shows how important it is to understand the layout of the exam. Number 5, speak English. It is important to speak as much English as possible in preparing for your IELTS speaking test. Good luck in your IELTS exam. I know you'll do great. Bye.